Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Tokyo Necro. I just took a short break and ate some dinner, got myself some fried chicken, and yeah, after that I just came back straight to playing again, and here we are. Last time we made Soen actually not become a living dead, and Etika is probably a living dead. So it's the reverse of what we did on the previous route. And yeah. Who are we right now? I guess this is Etika. Right? Ah, there we go. I knew it. This is the spicy curry. Iria takes a bite. She's doing her best not to burn her mouth. Chewing it real good. And finally, she gulps it down. This is how you know that Ryoko is not a living dead yet, because the last time when Iria was eating this, it was only pure heat, and both Tokitaka and Iria couldn't or weren't able to eat the curry. But she's saying this is actually delicious now. Man, curry sounds delicious right about now, even though I just ate. Iria seems to have taken a liking to Ryoko's curry. Naturally, the rest of us are also busy chowing down on our portions. Good food really does make all your worries vanish. But...
いつもと味付け微妙に違う？正解！今日は霞ヶ関に行ってきたから、帰りにアメホコでスパイスを買っちゃった。
Kasumigaseki is home to a whole bunch of Russian info brokers. They use mesh jammers to block communication devices and prevent information from leaking out, which would explain why I couldn't get through to Ryoko earlier.
店長さんおすすめのスパイスなんだけど、どうかしら？バッチグー。いつもよりピリッと辛さが引き締まってる感じ。ね、そう。うん。
すごく美味しい。
Wow, look at that. Guess even Soen can sport a smile from time to time. Good food, good company, and good sleep. All a girl like me needs.
3杯目?
She sure has a healthy appetite. My god, thirds? I'm guessing that each curry portion is about 800 calories. So, my god, that's a whole day of food. What the hell are you doing, Iria? You're gonna get fat, girl. Alright, so this is the same. Yeah, this is Pavlov doing his thing. Okay, so... what the? I was gonna say this is the same too. And we were gonna contact Kiri about... Michiya, but...
Iria! Oi! 大丈夫か?
Iria heaves labored moans as her tonecraft continues emitting a dazzling light just above her fingertips. It's stronger than I've ever seen it. The tonecraft scatters its light around the room, painting our surroundings in its rainbow hue. The wall-mounted screens, the handheld devices, even the papyrus. Every single electrical appliance in the room starts pulsating with light in perfectly synchronized harmony. What's more, they aren't just getting repeatedly turned on and off. All the monitors cycle through the complete spectrum of colors. Red, blue, yellow, and so on. Every electronic device in the city has been hijacked, repurposed as a decoration, like the sort you'd see on a concert stage.
聞こえる？何が？
Oh, sorry about that. From every mounted papyrus, from every TV in every living room, from headphones and radios alike, from long forgotten speaking toys. Have we contacted Kiri yet before this happened, by the way? I'm not sure. To the many broadcast speakers installed around the city. Every single device in Tokyo capable of outputting audio comes to life with a song at the exact same time. Substance concept. It has to be her.
サブコンの歌。
まさかサブコンがやってるのか。
そう。サブコンが呼んで。
Whoa, that's the first time I heard someone yell that hard. Iria clutches her head in pain and loses her balance. But thankfully, Son catches her just in time. I think both Son and Ethika doesn't catch her when they were both living dead. Oh, nice CG. Iria is trembling in my arms. Her gaze is vacant and her skin's gone dangerously pale. She looks like someone on the verge of dying. But it's not any illness or injury that's causing this. She's trying to remember her past. Is it because of subcon? The last time Iria made contact with her, it resulted in a splitting headache and her tone graph lighting up. Indeed, her tone graph is shining now, but several magnitudes brighter than last time.
そう。
イリア、なんだ。
Your eyes are kinda hollow, girl.
大丈夫。ちょっとサブコンとお話ししたいだけ。
話でも苦しむこと。
苦しくはないの。だからそうも苦しそうにしなくて大丈夫。
She's saying I'm the one in pain?
そうもそういう顔するんだね。
Even in the midst of all her pain, Iria musters up a faint smile. I find myself thoroughly captivated by it.
そうお願いしていい？
なんだ。
サブコンが
Oh, sorry.
呼んでるんだ。だから私上に行きたいの。
上？
辺りが見渡せる場所。街中が見える場所。
わかった。
Wasting no time, I pick Iria up in my arms. Okay, before, she actually just passed out, I believe. Carrying her light frame, I swiftly make for the agency foyer.
待ちなさい。街の電子機器が正常に機能してない可能性が高いわ。こんな中、上に行くなんて危険よ。
She's probably right. Even my Condry's been acting up. Getting to a place with a view of the city would be no mean feat in our current situation. So I don't blame Ryoko for trying to stop us. She's weighing all the risks involved. To every member of the Kara Suzumi Living Dead Stalker Agency, Ryoko's orders are absolute. I myself have never gone against them. In other words, this will be my very first act of insubordination.
すみません、涼子さん。リビングデッドだったら僕が倒します。ミルグラムだって何とかします。でも今の僕は役立たずだ。彼女にできることはこれくらいなんです。
I can tell my words have hurt Ryoko. And I wish I could have avoided that. But right now, this is the best course of action. I firmly believe that.
大丈夫。このコネリンはつながるから。
Iria's connect ring continues gleaming with a rainbow-hued light, displaying the same tone graph we've seen before. All our Condrys have stopped working, except for hers. She's being summoned. The streets outside the agency have been thrown into utter chaos. We seem to have been right in assuming that pretty much every electronic device had gone haywire. I think that was supposed to be gone there. The ceaseless cacophony must be the result of every public taxi in town sounding its horn. But even as the city is engulfed by Subcon's performance, the residents remain unusually calm. Well, performance may not be the right word, more like a takeover. Her singing can be heard reverberating across every last street corner in Tokyo. People stand in silent awe, simply watching as the city takes on a new form. The song they hear is nothing more than a string of meaningless words. Yet somehow, it's managed to captivate their hearts. Iria stares deeply into her tone graph, which continues to glimmer and shine in the colors of the rainbow. I think I can kinda tell what she means. There's no one here to properly interpret Subcon's song. But even if it falls on deaf ears, she keeps on singing it, desperately hoping to make her message come across, whatever that message may be. After leaving the agency, I immediately make my way into a nearby alley.
ここ？
違う。ここは入り口。手を貸して。
I place my right hand on her left. My Conry gains the necessary authorization from hers. Using her Conry as conduit, I think I said that correctly? I send out a signal.
何してるの？
すぐにわかるよ。それよりイリア、体は？
大丈夫。ソウンが支えてくれるから。
The transmission has already finished, but I don't want to let go of her hand. I'm sure she feels the same way. How would you know, Soon? So instead, we keep silently gazing up at Subcon's concert. I almost don't want it to arrive, but it does, all too soon.
来たね。
来たって。
I guess we're gonna be using Strider? Iria notices a faint shadow in the ground, which prompts her to look up.
うわ、バイブランナー？
Oh, what the?
軍警察のやつをコンスーが1台だけハッキング。携帯端末で遠隔操作できるようにしてある。個体識別番号は MF399。カラス積み事務所との共有財産として使ってる。
Oh, this is actually what she used on the previous route.
天然オイルあげてる？
天然？
冗談冗談。この上に乗るの？
I also don't get what the hell you're trying to say there, Iria.
あ、しっかり捕まって。
This particular runner has a firm foothold built into its back. It's made from a special alloy and comes with its own safety belt. Iria and I both climb onto it. Using my Conry, I direct the pipe runner to start climbing vertically. Its legs have electromagnetic wheels attached, and by carefully adjusting their magnetic force, the runner can crawl atop pipes like a nimble spider. It picks out the most efficient route to take across the city's complex network of hot pipes, using its 8 legs to swiftly ferry us toward our destination. Meanwhile, we watch in silence as the rainbow-hued scenery of Tokyo rushes past. Our runner stops in a place after reaching the top of the pipe it's been climbing. Hot air clashes with the perpetual winter chill. We straddle the border between snow and steam. Iria and I lock hands, that we remain steady amidst the raging winds. As we gaze upon the rhythmical rainbow glimmer of Tokyo, a series of fragmented, barely discernible words can be heard reverberating like a song. In perfect harmony with the flow of the music, pipe runners across the city have begun to dance. I hope Kiri's not, doing her thing. Like the last route. Iria pulls back her hood to try and listen to the lyrics. She calls out to the shimmering city as her tone graph begins to glow ever more fiercely.
サブコン、聞こえる？オーギョー、イリアだよ。
Yeah, we definitely got into contact with her like way early in this route. Before, the first time we contacted her was inside of the Tokyo Megafloat. In response, the dazzling lights of the city all go dark in an instant. What remains is the image of a single girl. It's far larger than any other projection we've ever seen before. It blankets buildings, covers pipes, and lights up every street and corner, turning the panorama of Tokyo into a digital canvas come to life. If viewed from any other angle, the image would break and distort. What we're seeing right now has been set up for Iria, and her alone. The person responsible is none other than Substance Concept.
こんばんは。
Her reply rings out like a digital echo, one voice layered on top of another. Like snippets of electrical noise, the words can be seen projected onto signboards across the city.
君はサブコンだよね。
あなたの名前はホウキョウイア。
知ってるのか？
私たちは友達。
そうだった気がする。でも私は記憶をなくしちゃったの。
記憶。
Subcon parrots back the word. Does she really understand what Iria is saying? She sounds more like a toddler who's beginning to understand how words work for the very first time.
ねえサブコン、私は一体誰？
ホウキョウイアはホウキョウイア。違う。
私は私。でも
そりあゆか。そりあゆか。一緒じゃない。
そりあゆか。
Yeah, so she's actually not saying these words, by the way. She's projecting them in the building lights there. I actually just noticed. It repeats the name, realization dawning on her face. Iria. Noise-like interference begins to disrupt Subcon's citywide singing. The lights of Tokyo gradually begin to fade.
もうこれが限界。
そんな。
ホウキョウイア。また会いたい。
待って、まだ。
さよなら。
And with that single word of parting, the music goes silent. Subcon's image disperses, leaving behind only the faint scent of flowers. No, I must be imagining that. And then darkness. Flowers? Why flowers, Son? An eternity of a second passes, and the city's lights come back on. Iria's nerve-wrecked features finally loosen up. She heaves a sigh. I can see her body sway to the side. Acting quickly, I steady her before she can fall off the pipe runner. You guys probably didn't notice there, but I just took a short break to go to the bathroom. But I am back. Sorry about that.
大丈夫か？
またちょっと思い出した。
それは後でいい。まずは部屋に戻って一度休もう。
The mesh network seems to have come back to life. Just as I'm considering starting up the pipe runner myself, I'm interrupted by the buzz of my connery.
もしもし。
つながった。長岡、無事だったか？
It's from Mitsumi. Right. We did exchange contact information a short while ago.
僕とイリアはなんとか。
宝行も
一緒にいるんだ。
そうか。それはよかった。
I'm honestly a little surprised that it wasn't Ryoko, Ethika, or even Tokitako called first to inquire about my safety. But Mitsumi...
わざわざ連絡ありがとう。
そんなのは当然だろ。
I don't think so.
お主はもう私の背中を預ける仲間だ。いなくなられては困る。
What the? She's acting so different compared to the previous route. What is this? She's right. I hadn't thought about it that way.
宝領は守れたのだな。
あ、守れた。
それはとてもいいことだ。
Despite our conversation being voice only, I can tell that Mitsumi has just nodded on the other end of the line. You good? Similarly, I can almost see her troubled expression in my mind's eye as she struggles to figure out how to break this awkward silence.
ではまた後ほど。
あ、それじゃあ。
We end the call. Subcon's strange performance has come to an end. The agency is safe. And so is Iria. I feel relief beyond words.
いつみから？
Iria, still clinging on to the pipe runner, looks out at the city below.
そうだ。
そうはみつみが好き？
ああ、彼女がいると心強い。
そうじゃなくて。
Iria heaves an exhausted sigh.
これじゃみつみも報われないな。
報われない？
私ね、人の気持ちに共感したり盛り上げたりするのが得意なんだ。
Guess you remember about her enhanced empathy now.
この事務所にだってずっと昔からいたみたいだし、聞き込みだって簡単に溶け込んじゃったでしょ。サブコンとお話しできるのもそのせいかもね。
Iria does certainly possess a unique talent for making people open up to her.
でもね、その私が丸一日かかってずーっとやろうとしてたことをみつみはほんの一瞬でやっちゃった。
何の話だ？
そう、笑ってたよ。
I smiled? How unusual. This has gotta be her route, right? Asa Kiriri hears an explosion roar out far below her in the distance, as Subcon's sudden interference wraps the city in rainbow hues. She stands unsteadily atop one of the many hot pipes coiling around the military police HQ, having to drag her broken right foot to even move.
早く安全なところに。
So is Ethika... Yeah, Ethika didn't save her this time, right? The pipe runners went berserk while Kiriri was performing maintenance. As a result, her leg got caught in one of their wheels. She managed to avoid being thrown into the night sky, if narrowly, but her leg was severely injured, making walking almost impossible. She feels herself getting dizzy from everything that's going on around her. The howling winds, the hot, sweltering air, the lights, the incessant singing. What's more, she is a good 40 stories above ground. Falling off the network of pipes would mean certain death. Her path is also being blocked by several pipe runners on both sides. Almost like a group of enthusiastic background dancers, they crawl to and fro atop the pipes in complete harmony with the rhythm of Subcon's singing. They form complex, spiral-like patterns with their movements while seemingly paying no heed to Kiriri. Even supposing she could make it past the pipe runners in one piece, there's still the problem of getting through the building's bulletproof glass. Is that Hokuyasu? A lone man bursts through one of the windows and lands on the same pipe as Kiriri. You're not gonna kill her, right? His X-Brain helmet, an older model, completely shrouds his features. Wielding a pair of deadly re-eliminators, he begins calmly walking across the pipe. His measured gait shows not an ounce of fear or hesitation as he makes his way across the thin path, surrounded by hosts of swift-moving pipe runners. It's almost as if he's long since cast aside the very concept of fear. He fires off his shots with expert accuracy, taking care to avoid injuring the pipe he stands on. His bullet hit only the pipe runners, quickly incapacitating them one by one. Jesus, he's actually fighting them off with real eliminators. What the fuck is this guy? Using the muzzle spikes of his guns, the man delivers quick and effective punches to the runners, blowing them off their already precarious footing. His movements are precise and calculated. His technique is textbook perfect. Having eliminated his opponents, the man draws closer to Kiriri. He leans down and removes his helmet.
皆避難していて救出が遅れた。
そんな小安さんに来てもらえるなんて。
Hokuyasu's sullen expression makes Kiriri realize that she's accidentally called him by his first name, the way she used to in the past. Ever since she herself has joined the ranks of the military police, Kiriri was supposed to always refer to Hokuyasu, the man who raised her as his own, as Major General Kibanohara. Having remembered her position, Kiriri hurriedly averts her eyes. Her gaze instead settles on a specific point in the city. A set of words can be seen manifest in the midst of a city painted the color of rainbows. They who share the lotus throne share in joy and sorrow alike. Yeah, who actually gave us this info then? It's not Subcon, then who was it? In the very first, route that we did, I thought Subcon was actually not trying to contact Iria, but she was trying to give us, you know, the info that we were trying to find about the password. Is it Sorya Yuka? Hokuyasu's reaction nearly makes Kiriri doubt her own eyes. A single rivulet of fresh tears, glimmering faintly in the rainbow light of the city, can be seen trickling down the cheeks of a man known across Tokyo for his lack of emotions. Driven by instinct, she reaches out to wipe his tears away, only for her hand to be grabbed by Hokuyasu's. His eyes, however, are still glued to that peculiar illusion in the night sky. The name of Kiriri's mother. Her words finally drag Hokuyasu's mind back from the past and into the present. He lightly shakes his head and dons his helmet again. Leaning on Hokuyasu, Kiriri manages to stand up. His firm, muscular frame, almost unbefitting of someone his age, guides Kiriri along to safety. Kibanohara Hokuyasu, the father of the X-Brain, and the savior of Japan. An elite among elites who climbed to the rank of Major General in the blink of an eye after entering the military police. People say that his stern, unflinching features reflect the iciness of his heart. Kiriri, however, is of an entirely different opinion. In her mind, Hokuyasu is hardly without feelings. He simply buried them for the sake of his ideals. Beneath that cold, rigid surface, there's a heart full of emotion, still alive and beating, or so she's been told. He poses her an unlikely question. She answers without a tinge of hesitation. The fuck? You're crazy! A single word of rejection is the first thing to leave his lips. I guess now we understand why Kiri chose Hokuyasu in the Tokyo Mega Float first. But I guess her, faith was shaken after what she found out that he was gonna do. The two continue making their way across the pipes. With the runner's outburst calmed and Hokuyasu by her side, Kiriri knows there's nothing more for her to fear. That definitely gives in a bit more perspective, yeah. Okay, we see Sophia and Juichiro again, so can skip this part. The rainbow spectacle, why is this one different? That engulfed the whole of Tokyo has dissipated. After listening to her subordinate's report, Sophia Kawarazaki turns and addresses him in a disinterested businesslike manner.
見つからなかったと？
何分時間が短く。
人類の存亡がかかっているのだぞ。分かっているのか？
は、しかし。
言い訳はいらん。宝行イリアは人類の不沈を握る。何としてでも探し出せ。
は。
Without bothering to even give her subordinate a parting glance as he exits the room, Sophia directs a sharp glare at the screen before her.
山沼め。
Huh? Why would you say that to Yamanuma?
これを見つけたことは褒めてやらんでもないが。
The hollow screen above her displays a bird's eye view of Tokyo, as captured by one of the few remaining satellites that survived the war. It recorded a mesh-like pattern blanketing the rainbow-lit city. Sophia then brings up an image of a VR program created by Hagio Area, the girl the suicide wannabes named in their video. Sepcon's voice responds to Iria's Midnight Shores. In other words, the song and the VR program, two otherwise separate works of art, form a collaboration of sorts. The evidence all points in one direction. Hagio Iria and Sepcon have established mutual understanding and communication. Well, we know about that already. And Sophia should already know about that too in the other route. Okay, this is not new. Actually, don't remember this one. Oh, that was Olga. The fuck? That's random. I mean, technically you're not wrong. The morning after Sepcon's large-scale interference, Iria starts our usual meeting with that peculiar suggestion. Soen is visibly confused, unsure as to how he should respond. Tokitaka buries his face in his palms. As for me, I roll with it without so much as a second thought.
いや、助けた時から思ってたんだ。イリアちゃんはお姫様だって。するってと、目覚めさせたこのボンクラは王子様。
サブコンと話して記憶を思い出したのか？
Gee, thanks. Way to completely ignore me.
うん。ソリアユカって名前で思い出した。私、ザ・フォートレスでずっとアユカと一緒にいた。
はあ？あの天地十一郎の城か？
Okay, so we're probably gonna go to the fortress first in this one before we go to Tokyo Mega Float.
天地十一郎？
この人よ。
The picture Ryoko calls up with a multi-flick shows a man sporting an unflattering frown. And sure enough, the name next to his photo reads Amachi Juichiro. Demi-Human Industries. He's a living legend among businessmen, the founder of Amachi Robotic Industries, who single-handedly revolutionized the landscape of humanoid operating machines across Tokyo. He's also a top dog in the market of humanoid military robots. These days, though, people largely associate him with the stuff he does behind closed doors. His headquarters, the Fortress, has become known as a symbol of robotic prostitution. A massive stronghold of a building filled with a wide array of high-spec sexoroids to serve the unsavory needs of the rich and powerful. Amachi has holed himself up in there.
会ったことがある気がする。
It would actually make sense. Amachi's sexoroids are mostly sought out by billionaires and influential politicians. so he's got strong ties within both political and financial circles, as well as to the military police. The fortress is quite meticulous about protecting the privacy of its clients, and thus employs some of the most advanced security measures available. Amachi has also got his own army of self-manufactured security robots and all the smart material in the world, making the defense of the place nigh impenetrable. I don't know why I say highly there. It's not quite on the level of the Tokyo Megafloat, but still, it's generally understood that whatever happens in the fortress stays in the fortress. Assuming Iria was taken to the fortress immediately after she left the Ikebukuro CPC and spent all her time locked up in there, well, let's just say that would explain why she was impossible to track down.
そのソリアユカってどう書くのかな。データが見つからないんだけど。
あゆかは人間じゃないの。人間そっくりのアンドロイド。
Iria goes on to specify the kanji for us.
私、あゆかと一緒にサブコンと話そうとしてたんだ。だからサブコンはあゆかが一緒にいるかどうかを聞いたの。
それはアマチの指示でやっていたこと？
それは。
Oh, sorry about that, Iria. As Iria clutches her head, the tone graph at her fingertips begins to glow. A familiar pattern. Every time she tries to remember a particular detail about her past, it ends up causing her pain.
涼子さん、できれば別の質問を。
そうね。それじゃあ、イリアちゃんはどうやってザ・フォートレスから脱出したの？
それは、その。
I mean, Tang Yunshan got her. Not that hard to actually piece that one together.
サブコンと話して思い出したんだけど、副都知事のおじさんに連れられて。
その後はタンユンシャンとはどうやって会ったか覚えてる？
それは
今日はこのくらいで。
Yeah, I assume Iria is actually not gonna remember everything in this route. Considering the first route we got, she actually remembered everything, including about, Kansu. Unable to ignore Iria's suffering, Son cuts in.
イリア、少し休もう。
でももう少しで。
Yeah, Son is way too worried about her to make her suffer like that.
ダメダメ、無理しちゃ。
We wouldn't want her passing out or anything. I give Ryoko a quick but meaningful look.
おる？どうしたの？
Ryoko gazes into the screen in front of her with an intense expression.
メールが来たわ。
メール？
Ryoko brings up the attached hologram and...
かぼちゃ？
Are we invited? As I try to open the file, the pumpkin suddenly bursts open with a smoke-like visual effect. Speak of the devil. Man, if I were to see this guy first in this form, I wouldn't have been surprised that he went into, the highway in that other route. The hologram that jumps out at us is like a jack-in-the-box, is a low-polygon model of Machi Juichiro. At least I think it is. Jesus, which century are these graphics from? And what's with the music? Based on that humble abode bit, I can only assume the voice belongs to Machi Juichiro himself.
Huh? 今日の夜?
At least he's not as menacing as when we got brought over to, the Tokyo Megafloat by Yamanuma.
おい、抹茶が。
I lean closer to try and catch Amachi before he retreats into his castle, but end up getting a fireworks show in my face. I reflexively shrink back, despite knowing it's all just a hologram. Surrounded by that colorful display, Amachi's face vanishes as abruptly as it came. One must brave the tiger's den if they are to catch his cubs. I guess everything at this point is going to be new now. Ryoko has decided we will accept Hamachi Juichiro's invitation and storm the fortress. The fortress is a massive humanoid operation machine production factory with both private and military clients. Once we enter, we won't even be able to communicate with the outside on our own. Hamachi could very well resort to extreme measures. We must proceed with the utmost caution. We have the rest of the day to prepare for our infiltration of the fortress. I take the opportunity to service my weapons. I place my 2 real eliminators on the workbench before me. They are pistols designed for use in close quarters combat, with a spike installed over the muzzle's front. The long magazines have a capacity of 30 bullets. In day-to-day combat situations against the living dead, I use hollow point, 1.45 Magnum rounds. Hollow point rounds are bullets that have a dent in their tips. This type of bullet is more likely to be crushed or change shape upon making impact with its target, causing it to tear their insides to shreds. This is the most efficient bullet to use when facing lo-fi living dead. But it lacks the punch needed to deal with a hi-fi living dead's reinforced skin or necromancers outfitted with armor, so I keep magazines with full metal jacket and AP rounds prepared too. If something does go wrong tonight, I'll be up against security robots. I need to account for that possibility when choosing what ammunition to carry.
So, いる？
どうしたイリア。まだ時間があるんだから今のうち休まないと。
うん、それはわかるんだけど、そううんは休まないの？
これが終わったら仮眠を取るよ。
Iria approaches the workbench and begins to examine the re-eliminators.
興味あるのかい？
Violence was an essential part of entertainment in the 21st century. There are probably a lot of guns in the anime she likes to watch. I watch a few movies from that period with Kansu myself. They certainly do have a lot of firefights.
ねえ、そううん。銃の撃ち方教えてくれない？
Huh?
心配はいらない。君は僕が守る。
あ、うん。そううんを信じてないってわけじゃないの。でも自分の間抜けさでそううんを傷つけたくない。
Iria's expression is deadly serious. I was wrong to assume she was just excited to see something she recognized from anime. Just the other day, I nearly lost my life in the fight against Milgram. Iria probably feels responsible for that. I mull over it a bit more. Her suggestion isn't so off base. There's no telling what might happen at any given time. There's no downside to having her learn how to defend herself. I open the workbench's drawer and take a gun case out of it.
それは？
I mean, someone did give Iria a gun for, you know, the last parting gift in that first route we got.
君のご信用にあげるよ。
本当に？
Yeah, I opened the case. Sitting beside it is a Beretta pistol. Next to it are a paddle holster and 2 spare magazines.
小型だけど中身は最新モデルだ。弾倉には炸裂弾が6発。ご信用にはちょうどいい。
ありがとう。嬉しい。
銃は人殺しの道具だ。
Iria looks about ready to jump for joy, but I coldly remonstrate her.
指先一つで人の息の根を止められる。有無を言わせない力の象徴だ。
I mean, especially for someone like me who... Here in Indonesia, we don't have gun laws, by the way, so... I definitely feel like a gun is something that I personally wouldn't want to touch myself. It's way too easy to kill someone with it, you know? I mean, you can say that you can kill anyone with anything, right? Even a spoon can be a deadly weapon in the hands of someone that wants to kill. But a gun, you can kill without actually, you know, wanting to kill, right? Well, you have to want to kill if you were to use something else that's not meant for killing.
そしてその力には権利と義務が付帯する。使わないに越したことはない。軽々しい気持ちで嬉しいなんて言わないでほしい。
わかった。
Iria nods with a grave expression.
ソウンの言う通りだね。できればこんなもの使いたくない。だから嬉しくなんてない。ソウンからのプレゼントでも全然嬉しくなんて。
Iria's fingers gently touch the Beretta. As she picks it up firmly and grasps the grip, a grin makes its way across her face.
全然嬉しくなんてない。
Good grief. I take the pistol out of Iria's hands and put it on the workbench.
じゃあここからはちょっとした授業だ。拳銃の基本的な操作はわかる？
多分大丈夫。
それじゃあこの空の弾倉でやってみて。
オッケー。
Iria picks up the Beretta. She pulls back the slide and confirms the chamber is empty, then inserts the magazine I handed her. After pulling back the slide again, she removes the safety, and then she pulls the trigger. Afterward, she reapplies the safety, before pulling out the magazine and placing it back down in the workbench.
完璧でしょ。アニメ見て何度も練習したんだから。
I do feel a bit relieved. It would seem that at least some of the anime of the 21st century cared about being accurate. But there's a world of difference between imitating something you saw on screen and an actual combat situation.
学ぶことは多い。例えば玉詰まり。
ジャム。
ああ、そうだ。ケースレスでも薬莢式でも銃器には全て玉詰まりの可能性がある。薬莢式は分かりやすい。薬室で弾が重なっちゃうダブルフィード。空薬莢が排気口とスライドに挟まるストーブパイプ。たとえケースレスでもダブルフィードはたまにある。
アニメじゃそこまで聞かなかったかな。
I don't think anime usually even, you know, have a gun jammed in the first place, to be honest.
弾詰まりが起きたらとりあえず弾倉を抜く。で、スライドを引く。これが基本。ライフルでも使う部品が違うだけでやることは同じだよ。
わかった。練習してみる。
I spent some time helping Iria learn the basics of how to handle a gun. She had a decent understanding to begin with, so it doesn't take long for her to get the hang of it. After only a few hours, she's reached the point where it would be hard to pin her as an amateur at a glance.
どう？
上出来だ。
でしょ。でもこれ意外と運動になるね。
Iria's hair clings to her forehead with sweat, and her face is visibly flushed. And still, her smile is captivating. She's never ceased to captivate me, ever since I found her in the trunk of that car. It's as if she's always floating a few inches off the ground. As if she would shatter into pieces if I reached out and touched her. She is truly a mystery.
そう？
何？
ぼーっとしてなかった？私を守る前にソウンがやられちゃったら意味ないんだからね。パーン。
Oh, sorry about that. Iria pretends to shoot me through the heart, then flashes a shy smile. I can't take my eyes off her. I feel my heartbeat pick up. A sudden impulse overcomes me. I want to feel her, to hold her closer. Even though I could never bring myself to do something like that.
本当のこと言うとね、私ちょっと怖いんだ。
怖い？
うん。サブコンと話してお城のことを思い出して、副都知事のおじさんの顔を思い出したら急に実感が湧いてきたっていうか、それまでずっと私の過去は曖昧で全然つかみどころがなくて、 ただ知りたい、はっきりさせたいって気持ちだけだったんだけど、本当にそれだけでいいのかな。
Kansu said something like that too. That there's a chance Iria remembering the past might only serve to hurt her. And now that's become a very real concern.
都知事のおじさんがあんな風に殺されたのって。
違う。ミルグラムの行動を君が気に病む必要はない。
ありがとう。
What I just said is true, no doubt about it. But the naked truth alone lacks the power to heal Iria's wounds, to soothe her. Something else is necessary for that. Something that evades my grasp. No matter how skilled I am with a gun.
招待の時間まで少し休もうか。
まだまだ昼過ぎだよ。時間があるんじゃない？
大事の前には余裕を持って行動することが重要だ。
そっか。
Iria nods meekly. When you see something in the dark, ignoring it and moving on is one option. But there's no telling if whatever is writhing in the dark is going to ignore her back. The future is rife with risks and dangers. What matters is whether you make your choices willingly, on your own terms. I agree with that. The only thing I can do is respect Iria's will and extend a helping hand when she needs it.
そう、後でよろしくね。
あ、任せて。
I watch Iria leave the room and then commence my daily training. Yes, this is for the best. The invitation from Amachi Juichiro is for 9 p.m. That's too late for any ordinary party, but the fortress belongs to the night. By that place's standards, 9 p.m. is still early evening. Either way, I've got nothing to do until then. I wonder if what happened in the Tokyo Mega Float is still gonna happen with or without us. And you know, will Hokuyasu still storm the fortress too? If he is storming the fortress when what happened in the Tokyo Mega Float is happening, it's gonna be awkward with us being there. I'm absolutely bored stiff. I could get some training in, I guess, but I don't want to overexert myself. Left with nothing to do, I opened up Papyrus with a group photo. As I entered the military police's HQ, I start walking faster. I did come here hoping that if I can get my hands on some kind of hint for the password, I could solve the mystery around Kuroshima Michiya. But honestly, I just wanted to see Kiri. And so I tried to contact her via my Conry, but...
エチカ。
ああ、後でな。
待て、何の用だ？
用事がなくちゃ来ちゃいけない。
当然だ。ここは遊び場じゃない。
取調べ室で発情するのは仕事？
貴様！
You actually did not do that in this route, Etika. Kazuma insists on blocking my path. I swear, this girl sometimes. She has to be doing this on purpose.
いいから、君ねに合わせろ。
あそ少佐は今日は体調が優れず。
だったら余計に合わせろ。
本人が会いたくないって言ってる。
Kazuma's too dumb to actually tell convincing lies. Which means that what she just said is probably true.
どこだ？付属病院か？
いや、ただの体調不良だって。
昨日夜勤で怪我したんだろ。
Bullseye. Kiri mentioned she was going to participate in pipe runner maintenance last night.
落ちたのか？
タイヤに足を引かれたんだ。骨は折れたけど、すぐに治るそうだ。
You know, I'm surprised that Ethica didn't go after her. I'm actually more surprised the fact that, you know, this happened in the first route we did, because if Ethica was a living dead by then, I mean, she still has her feelings, but I guess it is just a route split at that point.
お前に連絡しなかったのは心配をかけたくなくて。
分かってる。でも会わなきゃいけないんだ。
だから私の話を。
今夜ザ・フォートレスに乗り込む。
Kazuma gasps audibly. Even the military police can't mess with Amachi Juichiro without good reason.
本気か。
招待状が届いた。
多分罠だぞ。
やられる気はない。でもこんな気持ちで戦場に行きたくはない。頼む。
Kazuma knits her brows. As much as she tries to pull herself up, she's timid on the inside, the type to do anything a superior says. But she wishes she could change that. She's a good, honest person at heart. I have to respect that.
来いよ。
Kazuma says curtly. She starts down the hall, and I follow.
その代わり条件がある。
なんだ。
Kazuma continues walking forward as she replies.
死ぬなよ。
She's already dead though.
あ？聞こえねえよ。
死ぬなって言ってんだ。
心配すんなって。
Let it never be said that Kazuma doesn't have her cute side.
チカちゃんは不死身だぜ。
After we exit the elevator, Kazuma is considerate enough to leave me alone, which lets me ponder exactly how dumb I am. Sure, yesterday was hectic with everything that happened with Iria, but I can't believe I forgot about Kiri. I can't forgive myself for this, no matter how bad I feel over it. I entered the room Kazuma told me, room 523.
親父。
I pause in shock. Kiri is lying in the bed, a smart cast fastened around her leg. Her skin is dotted with bruises. We already know what this is. And standing next to her is Kibanohara Hokuyasu, my old man.
見舞いに来たのか。
おう。
チカちゃん、怒らないでね。
分かってる。
This is a hospital room. And on top of that, Kiri is injured. Now isn't the time or place to be quarreling with my old man. This confrontation sure happened a lot quicker in this route. I notice him staring at me. Gross.
なんだよ。
エチカ、
あ？
すまなかった。
What? The old man just apologized. Why? Why is he apologizing to me?
チカちゃん。
Kiri's voice jolts me out of my thoughts. I assume this is because she died.
お父さん、追いかけなくていいの？
At some point, he left the room.
いいよ。別に追いかけなくても。
Whenever the two of us meet, we end up arguing. I'd have probably lunged at him if Kiri wasn't lying there injured. The fact that nothing happened is nothing short of a miracle. And on top of that, him apologizing. What the hell happened?
仲直りしたの？
誰がするか。私は絶対あいつを許さない。
The old man picked his career and ambitions over his family. He can cry and beg all he wants. I have absolutely no intention of ever forgiving him. And yet, why isn't the anger welling up inside me like it always does? Yeah, this is totally different. Because Etika's dead.
ねえ、チカちゃん、この匂いわかる？
ああ。
At the edge of my field of vision, I notice a flower. A real flower. A lotus.
親父のお見舞い？
チカちゃんのお父さん、少し変わったみたい。
I mean, because we died, right? I wonder what's gonna change if we don't die in this route. Kiri's words sound like some kind of foreign tongue to me. The lotus flower isn't some figment of my imagination. I can see it sitting right there. That was Kiri's mother's favorite flower, and Kiri loves it too. She has an endless supply of flavor capsules with that exact fragrance. The old man knew that, and that was why he brought her one here. And still, despite that, I don't feel anything. I mean, you're dead, Ethica. I think I might have realized why the old man suddenly started acting nice. No, I probably knew all along, but now I can finally acknowledge it. Did she actually realize she's an undead? I take a shower to wash off the sweat. Amachi's invitation was for 9 p.m., so I have some spare time. It's going to be a late night. Getting some sleep in might be a good idea. As that thought crosses my mind, my conry vibrates.
もしもし。
The call was from Mitsumi, but I can't hear anything from the conry.
もしもし。みつみ、聞こえるか？
長岡、頼みがあるのだが、聞いてくれるか？
Is she gonna join us, by the way? We technically are, you know, a joint agency now. I drive to Kolakant out to the woods where I look for Mitsumi amid the snow. The Tokyo radio tower looms overhead. Once a symbol of Tokyo, in the past it transmitted radio waves across the vast Kanto plains. But now, information is transmitted across the mesh network, using the conries as relays. We have no need of hulking metal towers any longer. When the Ice Age swept across the planet, the building was completely abandoned. With no pipes to shield it from the cold, it's been reduced to little more than a frozen tombstone.
長岡、わざわざ呼び出してすまなかったな。
僕たちは協力体制をとっている。助け合うのは当然だ。
そうだった。
Mitsumi's response is strangely meek. Does she feel awkward about making me come out here?
気にしなくていいよ。まだ時間はあるし。
何かこの後、用事でも？
Guess you're not coming with us.
涼子さんから連絡は行ってない？
連絡？
She didn't? It seems clear that Mitsumi hadn't been informed about us going to the fortress.
何かあったのか？
いや。
At first, I'm not sure how to reply, but Mitsumi is our partner. I decide against trying to talk my way out of this. I want to keep my relationship with her a frank one.
昨日の出来事でイリアが記憶を少し取り戻した。どうやら彼女はザ・フォートレスにいたらしい。その後、天地十一郎から招待状が届いたんだ。
招待状？
今日の夜、僕たちはザ・フォートレスに向かう。
危険はないのか？私も一緒に。
付き添い程度は認めるとは言われたけど、ぞろぞろ乗り込むわけにもいかないだろう。
そうか。
Mitsumi's expression clouds over.
大丈夫だよ。招待されてイリアの過去を探るだけだ。ことを荒立てるつもりはない。
あまり無茶はしてくれるなよ。
分かってる。
Iria's coming with us, so we can't afford to stir up trouble with her around.
それで君の頼みって？
少し歩こうか。
We make our way through a deserted park, treading across the thick, fresh snow. Before me, Mitsumi's hair sways in what feels like a set rhythm. Snow falls silently from the sky. Only the sound of our footsteps echoes through the grove of genetically enhanced trees. Composed of trees and other plant life genetically enhanced to grow to 6 times their normal size and resist Tokyo's biting cold, primarily found in the area around the Tokyo Tower. I was gonna say, I actually told my friend that you don't really see that many trees here, right? But I guess they have trees, but genetically. He was saying why they would have to use papyrus instead of just normal paper. These are evergreen trees that emit oxygen. They've been genetically modified to make them not just resilient against cold and disease, but also to increase their speed of growth. The site is reminiscent of a boreal forest.
どこに向かってるんだ？
寒いかと思ってな。
That doesn't really answer my question, but like Mitsumi said, the temperatures here are quite low, unlike inside the city. There are no hot pipes in the area surrounding the Tokyo radio tower, hence the snow dancing around us. The current temperature is about the lower limit at which lo-fi living dead, whose body have lost their thermoregulation functions, would be able to function. Yes, even a ghoul could just barely function in this environment.
懐かしい場所だな。
Mitsumi's voice cracks.
忘れていたのではなかったのか？
忘れてた。
No sense in being dishonest.
でも昨日、君に背中を預けて思い出したんだ。君と初めて出会った時のこと。
My body wasn't shivering because of the cold.
緊張するか？素数を数えるんだ。
2.5 years ago, I was a Living Dead Stalker trainee at the Karasuzumi Living Dead Stalker Agency. I had just begun actual field training. Tokitaka, being a few years older than me, was already working as Zikatsu support at this time. His main role was to provide covering fire from a distance with his Ogasawara TFD-20. My job was to assist Tokitaka as a lookout, while observing Ikatsu so as to learn what being a Living Dead Stalker was all about. I'd only just started out, and it was my first serious operation. I was terribly nervous. I was surveying the area from my post atop the Tokyo Radio Tower's top floor when I noticed a disturbance. I probably only picked up on it because of how high-strung I was.
どうした？まだ時間には早いぞ。
涼子さん。
I contacted Ryoko, who was currently waiting on alert in the Strider in a nearby underground parking lot.
足元でグールが暴れてるみたいです。木に隠れて見えませんが、その数およそ30。
そうね。
It was still before our operation's designated starting time. It would be preferable to get rid of any risk factors ahead of time.
あなたたちが気づかれてるとは思わないけれど、確認してきてくれる？
了解。
Perhaps having picked up on the stress in my voice, Ikatsu offered me a piece of advice, somewhat uncharacteristically of him.
いいか、そう。いざとなったら、親父に従うんだぞ。
はい。
I descended the partially frozen staircase cautiously, step by step. Wow, she looks very meek in that portrait. As soon as I descended the staircase, I was immediately faced with a sight of two figures surrounded by a large number of ghouls.
戦ってる。一人大怪我を負って。女の子がもう一人。
おい、そう、無茶をすんな。
分かってる。涼子さん、救出に向かう許可を。
No response.
涼子さん。
まずい。駐車場から煙が出てる。何かあったのかも。
I could tell from his voice that Tokitaka was unnerved by this sudden development. Did I run up the staircase and go back to covering for him? And abandon these two, moments away from being overcome by ghouls. That was Ryoko's call to make, but I couldn't get in touch with her. And I didn't have time to second guess myself. What should I do? My hand reached for my glossy black X-Brain. As I activated it, a suggestion immediately popped up. Rescue them. I'm surprised that the X-Brain actually told Soen to rescue them.
下がってて。
I hopped down to the snowy field and drew my two re-eliminators from their holsters, pointing them at the living dead surrounding us. It was my first real battle, but oddly enough, I was calm. I gunned down my enemies, following the suggestions I was given. I dodged incoming attacks, abiding by the alerts that popped up. All I did was accurately and faithfully follow my ex-brain's orders. I had brought it with me in case of an emergency situation, and it proved up to the task. It led me down the path to victory, knowing exactly what to do at every juncture. As the fighting went on, I became more and more relaxed. The anxiety I had felt earlier vanished. It was as if I had repeated these actions countless times before. As if re-killing the living dead was my calling, my reason for being. The ex-brain that gave me purpose was a memento of my father, Takeyuki. The ghouls crumbled away one after another, dyeing the field in dusky red.
私は当時アドバンスト代謝流剣術で兄に次ぐ使い手だった。兄も政府に選ばれたリビングデッドストーカーでな。アド大流は対リビングデッド戦にも有効。その証として私たち兄弟は利用された。私たちは広告塔だったのだ。
I finally realized something.
それじゃあもしかして君と一緒にいた人は
私の兄だ。もしお主が助けに来てくれなかったら、私はあのまま気が動転してグールに殺されていただろう。改めて礼を言う。ありがとう。
いや、僕もきっと君がいなかったらやられてた。
Everything went smoothly until halfway through the fight, but I didn't have enough stamina and focus at the time. After I had re-killed about half of them, a group of the surviving ghouls got the better of me. Mitsumi was the one who saved me when that happened. That's why fighting back to back with her felt so familiar.
それでわざわざここに呼び出した理由は何かな。僕にあの時のことを思い出させたかった。
いや。
I promptly turned my head, fixing my gaze on the countless footprints in the snow. These footprints are proof that there are living dead in the vicinity. Cursing my carelessness, I reached for my real eliminators.
Mitsumi.
Is that her brother? That's gotta be her brother, right? Her brothers got turned into a living dead by Hokuyasu, I think.
あの時のことを時々思い出しているようなんだ。
Mitsumi reaches out into the darkness of the woods, pulling forth a shambling figure.
Gijo Sumiko.
そう。私の兄。リビングデッドだ。長岡が敵のリビングデッドを片付けた後、兄は軍警察の付属病院へと連れて行かれた。だがその時すでに兄は事切れていたんだ。
Sitting in a Kolakan's passenger seat, Mitsumi divulges the truth of what happened. Each time we take a curve, the vehicle jolts slightly and I catch a glimpse of her brother's empty gaze in the rearview mirror. His eyes are devoid of light. I guess this was why she was very reluctant to actually kill us even though we were already a living dead.
父、義城天陽は私を許さなかった。兄はアド大流の時代当主と目されていたんだ。
Father to Gijo Mitsumi and Gijo Sumihiko, second head of the Atai school.
リビングデッドストーカーとして多少荒っぽく活動していたのも兄に当主としての箔をつけるためだった。
The fact that he's not attacking right now means that his master is still alive, right? It's gotta be Hokuyasu.
どうしてこんな姿に。
どうしても兄を生き返らせたい。その思惑が軍警察の上層部と合致したのだ。軍警察にとってリビングデッド対策は急務。有能な人材はできるだけ失いたくなかった。だから兄の死体を使って実験をした。
During the Sino-American War, necromancers were valued in the battlefield. Their powers allowed them to shift the tide of the war itself. It came to be known as the War of the Dead. But following the war, necromancy became illegal, and these former war heroes were suddenly subject to persecution. The necromancers, with their excessive military might, were deemed unnecessary in peacetime. But of course, the necromancers weren't going to simply give up the power they had gained. Mafias and terrorist organizations offered them shelter in return for lending them their talents. And the military police was no different, apparently. My eyes turned to the rearview mirror again.
体がかなり傷んでいるな。
He isn't visibly decaying, but on close inspection, anyone would realize this isn't a living human being.
軍警察の研究は不十分で、ネクロマンシーはスーサイドワナビツとは比べるべくもない。当初はそれほど違和感がなかったが、みるみるうちに劣化した。
Yeah, you can kind of see it on his neck there.
動きも、外見も、そして感情もだ。
The quality of a hi-fi living dead greatly depends on the skills of the necromancer. The true test of a necromancer's skill is in how they're able to make a decaying body look and feel alive. One can somewhat compensate for lacking motor skills using implants, and there are ways of holding the body's decay in check too. But it's that there isn't a necromancer in existence that can completely prevent a living dead's emotions from degrading.
墓に埋め、年に何度かその憎しみを思い出すのとは違う。自分の家に戻るたび、愛しい人が徐々に人間ではない何かに変わっていく様を少しずつ見せつけられるのだ。私は自分の弱さを呪った。強くなりたいと思った。強くなってミルグラムに復讐すると誓ったのだ。
So, it really is still on Milgram that she wants to take revenge on? I really thought it was Hokoyasu.
なんだって？
I turned to look at Mitsumi.
君のお兄さんを殺したのはミルグラムなのか？
ミルグラムと手下のスーサイドワナビズ。そう、キバノハラ少将は言っていた。
That's a lie, isn't it? Now I finally understand. Mitsumi has always tirelessly fought against the living dead, maintaining an unreasonable schedule, chipping away at her very health. And when she forged an alliance with the Karasuzumi Living Dead Stalker Agency, she ardently insisted that she would be the one to finish Milgram off. What drives her is her resolve to take revenge for her brother. The lights illuminating the Shudo Expressway passes by in set intervals. Mitsumi's expression is more tense than I've ever seen it before. It's as if she might snap at any minute.
大丈夫だよ。君と僕たちならきっとできる。
あ。
A faint smile plays over Mitsumi's features.
秘密を打ち明けてくれてありがとう。本当に仲間になったんだなって感じる。
仲間。
Ethika and Tokitaka aren't so much my partners as they are my colleagues. And Ryoko is closer to being family. But ever since Iria came into the picture, my relationships with the people around me have begun to change.
長岡。私はお主に一つ伝えなければならないことがある。
Mitsumi's tone is sober. Something she has to tell me. I start to feel a bit anxious. My hands gripping the steering wheel turn sweaty. Why though? Mitsumi doesn't speak, and I remain silent as well. The lights passes by again. Mitsumi trembles, still unable to say the words. It's like she's a completely different person compared to the battlefield, where she unflinchingly cuts down one undead after the next. That she's willing to show this side of herself to me is more proof that we've become partners. True, Tokyo is in a tragic state in 2199. The streets are full of violence, and each day is a brush with death. But if the world weren't the way it is, we might not have met the way we did.
実は
Just as she finally manages to speak, Sumihiko raises his voice in a moan. I notice that we're coming up on the exit to Shinjuku. Staying aware of what's behind me, I gently turn the steering wheel. The Coelacanth exits the Shuta Expressway, its engine raising a satisfying purr. It's already dark outside. The Gijo Living Dead Stalker Agency is in a particularly dark corner of Shin Okubo. Apparently, this area has traditionally been home to immigrants, and so the rent remains relatively cheap, but judging by how it looks from the outside, one wouldn't be inclined to believe that the Gijo Living Dead Stalker Agency is a rival of our agency. There are hardly any pipes running into it, and it looks less like a residential building and more like a warehouse.
貧相と思ったか？
不思議には思うな。君は少なくない額を稼いでいるはずだ。
いくら稼いでも足りんさ。
Mitsumi glances toward her dead brother's face. As advanced as embalming technology may have become, keeping a corpse in the same condition as a living being is difficult. Or maybe, the military police is extorting her. Could the military police be forcing her to work for them in exchange for keeping her brother alive?
勘違いするな。
I mean, if what Olga is saying is true, then yes. That's why Olga killed her brother.
確かに私は軍警察の要望を軽んじることはできない。だが、だからといって言いなりになるわけでもない。私はミルグラムを追うために軍警察に協力している。関係性は対等だ。
I wouldn't really call that equal, to be fair.
だったらいいんだけれど。
Mitsumi gets out of the car and quickly leads Sumihiko into the agency, before anyone has a chance to see him.
今日は助かった。ありがとう。
また何かあったら声をかけてくれると嬉しい。僕たちは仲間だ。
Mitsumi nods deeply and extends her hand out to me.
不運を。
I hope you don't die in this route too, Mitsumi.
ありがとう。
We shake hands and part ways. I have a bad feeling that she's gonna die. As I drive home, I think back on the conversation we had earlier. What was Mitsumi trying to tell me before Sumihiko's groaning interrupted her? I'm not the most tactful person out there, but even I know that whatever it was, it's not something I can ask her over the phone. But I want to know what she was trying to tell me. So no matter what happens in the fortress, typo there, I have to make it back, safe and sound. I think I'll do one more event here before we call it an episode. Having said goodbye to Son, Mitsumi opens the door to the agency. Before her eyes is a dreary, empty room. The building housing the agency was technically rented out as a warehouse. While the rent may be cheap, steam from the hot pipes barely reaches it. Sumihiko moans as Mitsumi sits him down in a chair behind a partition in the back of the room. Every now and then, her brother heads out to the Tokyo radio tower as if he remembers what happened. An injection of the nanomachine tranquilizer the military police's engineers gave her is enough to make Sumihiko docile, to render him immobile. Not living, but not dead either. His decay simply progresses, slowly and silently. Dying little by little. That is Gijo Sumihiko's current state. And drawing out this process for as long as possible is what Mitsumi lives for. It's really sad. Her conry vibrates. Tokyo is a city of the dead. Mitsumi never runs out of work to do. Apparently, there are living dead rampaging in Dogenzaka again today. Normally, this would be when Mitsumi sets out to work. But Sumihiko's moans echo in the room. Mitsumi's breaths come out in white puffs. She's hungry.
ダメだな。
Muttering to herself, Mitsumi puts her katana up. She simply isn't in the mood today. As she looks up at the rusted ceiling, someone's face surfaces in her mind. And then she thinks of the other members of the Karasuzumi Living Dead Stalker Agency, standing huddled around a table, planning on Operation Out, all of them alive. Planning an Operation Out, all of them alive, okay. A warm, pleasant sight. It reminds her of a family. Something far out of her reach. The only thing she can do is fight on. 2 years ago, on the day the Living Dead marshaled by Milgram attacked her, Gijo Mitsumi's fate was irrevocably changed. Seeing as the Atai school prided itself on its effectiveness in combating the Living Dead, having Sumihiko, its next head, fall in battle with a necromancer was a serious affair. The second head of the school, Gijo Tenyo, stopped at nothing to conceal Sumihiko's death. The end result of that was his cooperating with the military police's necromancy experiment. And so, Gijo Sumihiko was turned into a living dead. But the military police's necromancy techniques were poor, and while he initially seemed to have been successfully resurrected, he soon became visibly inhuman and decayed. Tenyo's plan to have the resurrected Sumihiko take his place as the Atai school's head crumbled to pieces. Driven from the dojo, Sumihiko couldn't live, but he couldn't die either. Mitsumi took the brother that saved her life in exchange for his own and began living with him in Shin Okubo. They formed a Living Dead Stalker Agency with just the two of them. She didn't look for or want any backers. She didn't gather any partners to fight by her side, since there wasn't anyone she could trust with her brother's secret. And since the military police held Sumiko's life hostage, they often used Mitsumi for their own ends. She had sworn to take revenge on Milgram, but there was still no sign of his whereabouts. Her father, Tenyo, mocked her efforts, saying a woman couldn't achieve anything on her own. But Mitsumi wanted to grow strong. To become as strong and beautiful as the man who saved her that day, at the foot of the snowy Tokyo Radio Tower. That was her only wish. She swore she would cast aside anything else if she could have that. Even your brother, though? Mitsumi realizes that Sumihiko has approached her. His black, discolored fingers, too dark to look even remotely alive, wipe the tears from her cheeks.
ありがとう、兄さん。
There were a few times Mitsumi considered re-killing Sumihiko, but she could never go through with it. Is he really dead? Has he really lost all his emotions? Is there not perhaps some iota of his living consciousness still remaining in his dying flesh? She couldn't rid herself of that doubt, of that hope. And even now, she still can't let go of them. Suddenly, Mitsumi hears a knock on the door. Alright, that is where we're gonna end the episode though. Man, this is why can I skip here? What the fuck? That's weird. I was gonna say that was actually a pretty sad way to end the episode. But we're actually finding out stuff about Mitsumi that we never found out on the other route. Which is definitely interesting. Kazuma definitely doesn't have a route. She's mostly just a side character. Huh. I wonder what's gonna happen though in this route. But yeah, tomorrow I probably won't be going to the gym since I went to the gym Saturday this week. So I will be doing a lot more of this tomorrow. I just need to not be lazy, man. Gotta hype myself up. The story is interesting, don't get me wrong. It's just, I am such a lazy bastard. I really need to change this stupid mentality I have. But yeah, I'm mostly just saying this for myself. No need to worry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Give this video a like if you guys like it. Sub if you guys haven't. Patreon will be getting these episodes early access. There's surprisingly also still no new H scenes. I'm guessing the 8 scene, just like in Etika's route, is mostly going to be at the very end. Probably with Mitsumi, I assume. If the other route is what my friend said is Iria's. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys next time.